The midlife crisis you are going through isn't about success or purpose, but a trauma that waited decades to speak. The feeling of profound dissonance may be the reawakening of childhood pain you were never allowed to process. For many of us from Indian and Nepalese background, this period in our late 30s, 40s, or 50s isn't just a moment of doubt. It's a reckoning with an identity we built to survive. You followed the program, the dutiful son or a daughter, the stable spouse, the dedicated partner, but this life wasn't just a script. For many, it was a trauma adapted identity. It was a role we played to earn safety and love. In this exploration, we will look at how this state of crisis is often the breakdown of that survival identity. It's not a failure, it's the emergence of your true self asking finally to be seen. In both Indian and Nepalese cultures, our identities are often shaped by powerful forces of tradition, community, and family. The script we followed wasn't just about culture. Actually, it was the survival plan of a child trying to win love and safety in a demanding environment. Many of us grew up in households that were emotionally deprived, chaotic, or intensely high pressure. Yet, we never named it trauma. In South Asian homes, trauma doesn't always look like overt violence. It looks like silence, emotional neglect, constant comparison, immense pressure to succeed, or being shameful for expressing a need. Children in these environments learn that their authentic feelings are unacceptable or even dangerous. So we create a functional self. For men, this self is the provider. The conditioning is to acquire a respectable career and sustain the family. Success is measured externally. For women, this self is the caregiver, the cohesive force whose reality revolves around others. While more women now have careers, the traditional conditioning often creates a double burden. We followed this script because it was a brilliant survival strategy. This trauma-adapted identity helped us feel safe and win approval. But what happens when the performance is over and you are left alone with a profound sense of emptiness? This is when the foundation of that falls begins to crack. The crisis in midlife often arrives when the noise of life quiets down. Children may leave home, careers stabilize, and routines are set in. Midlife is often the first time we are left alone with ours, and when the distractions fade, the pain is fixed. The unresolved trauma stored in the body begins to surface. You may feel anxiety, exhaustion, or dread, not realizing these are echoes from a childhood where your nervous system never felt safe. Let's look at the subtle signs that this is more than a crisis. Number one, chronic guilt for resting. A man in his late 40s, let's call him Anil, is a senior manager in a major Indian city. He has provided his family with every comfort, and he feels a sense of panic at night, a deep career stagnation. He remembers a passion for photography he suppressed. Resting feels like a failure because his worth was always tied to performance. Number two, feeling disconnected from joy and empty after achievement. Anil possesses everything the script told him to desire, but feels a profound emptiness. This is common when a life is built on a trauma-adapted identity instead of authentic desire. Number three, panic when alone or idle. Consider a woman in her 50s in Nepal. We call her Sunita. Her children have moved abroad. In her quiet home, she feels unseen and adrift. Her identity was built around being a mother and wife. Now, alone with her thoughts, a persistent sadness surfaces, which may be unacknowledged depression. Number four, physical symptoms with no clear cause. Sunita is also navigating menopause, but in a culture where it is rarely discussed, she experiences it in isolation. Her irritability might be dismissed as hormonal, but it's compounded by a lifetime of suppressed needs now emerging as physical and emotional distress. These are not just stories of dissatisfaction. They are manifestations of trauma response where individuals feel trapped by the very identity they constructed to survive. So why is this experience so difficult to understand within our cultures? Because many harmful patterns are normalized as culture. When the entire society reinforces your trauma, you begin to believe you are the problem. First, there is an immense stigma around mental and emotional distress. In India and Nepal, anxiety or depression are often seen not as health issues, but as sign of weakness or ingratitude. This fosters isolation and prevents people from seeking professional support. Second, emotional expression is governed by rigid gender rules. Men are taught to suppress vulnerability as expressing doubt is seen as a failure to be a strong provider. Women's emotional states are often dismissed or medicalized without addressing the root cause attributed simply to hormones. Finally, there is a lack of shared vocabulary. The Western term midlife crisis doesn't have a direct, non-judgmental equivalent in many of our languages. Without a word for it, the experience becomes hard to name and share. This creates a pressure cooker where the individual feels they have no legitimate reason for their struggle and no safe way to express it. The body remembers what the culture forgets. This crisis is not an end point, it's an invitation to heal. A midlife crisis is often the breakdown of your survival identity. It's not a failure, it's the emergence of your true self, asking to be seen. The way out is not necessarily through rebellion, but through integration. For a moment, let's return to Anil, our IT manager. He doesn't quit his job. Instead, he begins the work of feeling. He buys a camera and he starts waking up early to capture the sunrise. He is still the provider, but he is now also the artist. He is integrating a forgotten part of himself, shifting from external validation to internal work. And Sunita, the mother in Nepal, she starts a conversation with a friend and discovers she is not alone. Days in a local women's cooperative, she applies her decades of management experience to their finances, finding a new sense of purpose and community. She is no longer only a wife and mother. These are acts of healing. Your sadness isn't your flaw. It's your body remembering a truth you have buried for too long. Healing is not a luxury, it's a repair work for the soul. It may involve self-reflection, inner child work, or therapy, which is gradually becoming more accessible in urban areas. The goal is to create a life that feels authentic, letting go of the conditioned ambitions that were born from a need to survive. A midlife crisis in the Indian and Nepalese context is a profound invitation from your own awareness to ask, have you been true to yourself? Or have you been true to your trauma? We often think our childhood was normal, but if we were emotionally starved, we may now be passing the same starvation forward. The journey through this period is about breaking the cycle. It is about learning to feel the emotions that were suppressed too long ago. It's about understanding that success is not what society applauds, but whether you can live in alignment with your true self. For some, this means rediscovering a passion. For others, it's about learning to treat themselves with the compassion they always gave to others. This period of life isn't an ending, it's your authentic self finally asking for a beginning. What creative impulse did you put on hold for the sake of survival? If you are going through a crisis and you don't know why, please don't ignore it. Your childhood may still be speaking through your body. This is not your fault, but healing becomes your responsibility. Let me know if you have found this video useful, and if so, please feel free to like it and share with others. This is all for today. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you so much for watching the video. Namaste. See you in the next video.